Hi there, welcome back to Oops, I Planted Again. My name is Courtney, and in today's video, I'm gonna be doing a reaction video. So I asked my TikTok fam what are their planty, controversial opinions, thoughts, beliefs, practices, and they delivered. I have all of them right here, so I'm gonna be reading them off of my iPad while I repot this Scindapsus, and I'm gonna react to them. So I have a ton of these plants. I have separated them, they've grown, they've done a lot of stuff. I mean, I have a million. I have so many. I even have cuttings. I just have some that aren't probably doing well. But nonetheless, I am gonna put them all in one pot. I'm gonna put them all in this pot. I'm not sure if I should take these out, like take the pieces out, or if I should just leave them in there. I don't know, but I kind of want to check on the roots because I don't know if they're doing really well. I don't know. This is going to be messier than I planned, but whatever. I want to put them all in one pot, and then I'm going to put them trailing up a wall that I have downstairs that's in my kitchen. I asked my TikTok fam, should I make it go up the wall or should I have a hanging basket? And right now, for that poll, it's overwhelmingly, well, not overwhelmingly, because it was pretty tight, but most people said to have a trail up the wall because then the leaves could get huge, it could shingle, and I think that's what I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna start with my reactions to unconventional plant opinions while I do repot. So the first unconventional plant opinion is that plants aren't hard. Many of the things plant influencers do is completely unnecessary and often discourages new plant people. And I actually very much agree with this. And I actually made a video on TikTok a while ago, probably when I first started my TikTok, about how there'll be like videos, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever the case may be, where they're like, these are things that you should not do as a new plant parent, or these plants are not for you if you're brand new. Or this is the thing you have to do to make sure your plants are the absolute best. And it's like I think it's nice and I think it's good to share what works for you, but I think there shouldn't be such a definite, like, this is the way and it's the only way. Because that does discourage a lot of people, and I don't think we take a lot of time to think about like what's accessible. What's gonna be the thing that even just helps somebody a little bit instead of discouraging them if they don't have the newest, like the newest leca or the newest plant pot or the newest thing? Like, what am I doing to add that value to the plant community instead of trying to take it away? And I agree, I do not think that plants are hard. This plant is very dry. Oh, this plant is dry. I'm gonna take these out. I don't think plants are hard. Like, I genuinely don't think they're hard. I think that more than anything, it's usually that it's just something new and it's a new challenge, and it may be something that you've never done before. And that may be the thing that makes it feel hard, but I don't think that plants are meant to be, like, they're not meant to stress you out. They're not meant to stress you out. They're not meant to like make you feel like crap. They're supposed to be fun, and there's so much like to plants that I think people get caught up in. Okay, but that's my opinion on that. A lot of plant stuff is completely unnecessary. Like, you don't have to do a lot of shit. Like, I don't think you actually have to do a lot of shit. Even me, like, I feel like I'm not lazy, but I just feel like not even bare minimum. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of stuff that you just don't have to do. Like, you don't have to have a fancy soil mix. Like, I use regular potting soil up until a couple months ago when I'm trying to like learn more as I go. But for years I use regular soil. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. My plants were just fine. Okay, this one is long and it's kind of broken up, so I'm gonna focus on reading it. So this person said, my unconventional opinion about plants is that new plant collectors who treat their plants like delicate collector's items suffer from not getting to know their plants because after I stopped treating my plants like they were sensitive and really got to touching them, disturbing them, getting to know their root system, what the exact texture of every part of the plant at every healthy stage of growth. That's how I know when to water or feed or do anything. Oh wait. Oh yeah, kind of breaks my heart to see plants in a glass cabinet because that encourages a contactless relationship and it's such your own knowledge of how the plant works. So my advice is to get to know every plant by touch it. You can read its needs better. Sometimes I fuck up and break stuff, but they're so tough and they want to live, so it's okay. So this one I think is very interesting because there is definitely trends of the IKEA glass cabinets and the, you know, the collecting of plants in a manner where you're kind of just staring at them and you're just getting them to put them into a glass container to look pretty. Now, collecting plants I think is really interesting because to me, having plants is to learn more, grow more, and have experience, not just to kind of stick it in a glass container and just stare at it. And I do agree that if you're just collecting the plants to stuff in a container, just to have an expensive plant or a fancy plant or whatever, and you're not actually learning anything about the plant and you don't really even have that desire, you just want it, and you don't have like any knowledge past the way it looks and how to take care of it and how to learn about it and how to grow it, it's like, what are you doing it for? You know, plants are not necessarily the same as other collector items that can't be touched. When you think of like those old baseball cards or, you know, like those old toys, like Beanie Babies or something that are worth like a gazillion dollars now, if they're untouched or they're wrapped in the container or whatever, like that type of collection makes sense because when you touch it, it loses its value. But with plants, that's not the case. When you're touching plants and you're learning to grow them and you're, you know, feeling the leaves and you're reading the plant and you know how to manipulate it in a cool way or make the leaves bigger by making it trail, or it likes this type of water or this, like you're growing a relationship. And if you have a contactless relationship with plants, it's like, what are you even doing it for? Like, what do you have them for? You know, plants are meant to be enjoyed and touched, and I mean, they're beautiful obviously to look at, but if you don't know how to take care of them other than just like kind of stuffing them in a container and not really doing anything, like, is it really fun? Like, is it enjoyable? I don't think so. Okay. Here's the container. It's empty. I did decide to take it out. I'm kind of glad I did because I think I want to make sure that all of the longest pieces are to one side of the pot because that side is gonna grow the most, I think, towards the wall or on the wall. So I do have a couple of long pieces and short pieces, but everything else looks fine. I need to wet this before I start putting stuff in, or should I take everything out? I'll take everything out first and then I'll, you know, do what I gotta do. Okay, I'll start with those. Next, planty opinion. This one is, my unconventional plant opinion is that I repot usually very soon after I get a plant, if it's not from a local nursery who takes good care of them, because I'm nosy about the roots and I have encountered too many of those damn mesh plugs that have killed plants in the past. This, I absolutely agree with this opinion. There are a lot of videos and a lot of plant people who say like, you need to, don't repot, don't take it out, don't touch it when you first get it home, like it needs time to acclimate. And that is true. However, I have had a number of plants where I did not repot. I left them in their original soil, in their original pot, and nothing happened with them. They didn't grow. In fact, they started to die. And I was like, okay, let me repot it and check out the roots. And it's 2 months later and I see that it has one of those mesh plugs on it, or that it already had root rot when I bought it and it's just gotten worse over time, and then it's no saving the plant and it kind of died for no reason. So like this person said, if it's from a nursery, like a reputable nursery, like somewhere that you know they're taking care of their plants, I would still check the roots. I don't know. But I would feel less alarmed from an actual plant nursery or store buying a plant rather than like big box stores from like Lowe's or Home Depot or Kroger's or wherever you can buy plants in a regular store. I would take them out and check the roots. And I'm a big proponent of taking shit out if it looks weird. Like at the slightest, if the leaf is weird, if the soil is if something is off, I'm the biggest proponent for literally yanking the plant out of its pot and checking it out, because most problems always start with the roots. I feel like all problems start with the roots. The roots, because you overwatered or underwatered, or the roots are rotted, or there's an infestation or something. But I feel like it always starts with the roots. So I'm a big proponent of repotting as soon as possible when you get from like big box stores, because a lot of the time those plants, they're not being taken care of. They're highly overwatered, highly overwatered, and they're kind of just spraying it with whatever, and nobody's really caring for it like you will. So I definitely agree with that. Okay, next unconventional plant opinion is that if you know your plant well enough, you can put it in a pot with no drainage holes and it won't die. So drainage holes are always such a big, like very hot topic in the plant community, because everyone says your plants need proper drainage. Like you need to make sure it has a hole. If it doesn't, it's going to die. And in my opinion, I think a lot of plant opinions come from their personal experience, and that experience may be limited to just them. And I think if you know your plants, nobody really can tell you shit about your plants. Like even me, you know, you don't have to listen to me, and that's fine. If you know your plants, like you know how they vibe, you know what they want, you don't have to listen to other people's opinions about what you need, what you want to do. And that's why for me, like I usually, most of the time I say, in my experience, in my opinion, this is something that I have dealt with, or this is like my current understanding. I'm never like an end all be all person, because I don't think that, I don't think it makes sense. Because one, if I know something that works for me and I share it and somebody's like, well, that's not how I do it, it's like, that's okay. But if I know my plant, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I agree with this one. If you know your plant, if you know how to read that plant, and you know when it needs water, when it doesn't, what type of drainage works for your plant, go ahead and do it. It's your plant. So my camera died, and I've already taken all of the pieces out, and I wet the soil, and now I'm going to put these in. And there's one more plant opinion that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to share some of mine. So this one is, what do I think of variegated plants and prices? So basically, from my current level of understanding, variegated plants are just a preference. That's it. People just like the look, and they're willing to pay the price to have the look of that plant in their home, business, whatever the case may be. There's nothing, in my opinion, that like a variegated plant isn't a better plant just because it's variegated. It's just a preference. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a preference. I do think that some people hold variegated plants to a higher level. Like, this plant is way more fancy because it's variegated, like it's better. And I just don't think that's the case. I really just think it's an opinion. And not to say there's nothing special about variegated plants. I mean, I have a couple of variegated plants that I love, but it's just a preference. That's it. There's nothing that makes that plant better. The only thing that makes it better in somebody's opinion is that's what they prefer. And I do think a lot of the plant community and, you know, plant influencers put variegated plants on higher levels, just because they're so unique in their opinion. But for me, I like all plants. And just because a plant is variegated doesn't necessarily mean that it is a better plant. It really just depends on your preference with anything in plants. I mean, it's just a preference. So that's my opinion on variegated plants. Now the price is something that I think is really interesting to talk about. So the price of plants, in my opinion, in my experience, from what my current level of understanding, is that the price of plants is based on the market. So if there is somebody who's willing to pay $500, $1,000, $3,000, it will sell. And the people who grow the plants, whether it's overseas or wherever the case may be, people are going to buy it. Oh, my nose is itchy. If they know that somebody's gonna buy it, they're gonna keep making it and people are gonna keep buying it. And that's why the prices, I think, will rise. Not will rise, I mean are rising, can continue to rise because people are willing to pay for it. If people weren't willing to pay for it, then the price would probably drop. I mean, I'm not an expert on plant prices yet. I'm definitely, you know, researching and learning as I go. But it's really just like people are willing to pay. So the people who have it are going to make the price. And if you want one, you're gonna pay it. I mean, that's basically it. And I don't know, I really think it just depends on, I know there's also a conversation around like what actually makes a plant rare. And from what I know, from what I think is a plant is rare in the houseplant community based on availability. Not necessarily that the plant is botanically rare, because if a plant was botanically rare, then we probably wouldn't be able to get that plant, right? It would be like protected or something. That's what I think. So when you think about rare plants, I think about availability, not necessarily that the plant is rare, because if it was actually rare, then we wouldn't be able to buy it because it would be protected, like wildlife protection or something, right? I think that's how it goes. I guess I just dove into my opinion on that. I'm trying to think. Oh, another opinion, I kind of talked about it earlier in the video, but those videos, I see them a lot on YouTube now that I'm like on planty YouTube, but I do see them a lot and I'm not a fan of them, is those videos where it's like, don't buy this plant if you're a beginner. These are the worst plants like to buy if you're a beginner. You're gonna kill all of these plants. Like, you suck. I hate those videos. They're so discouraging. Like, why the fuck would I want to discourage people from buying plants? Like, I want y'all to buy plants. Like, I want you to buy plants. I want you to have fun with plants, because I know that for me, you know, getting into plants, I mean, it obviously turned into a business, but the hobby of plants was so fun and relaxing. And I didn't even recently really share my plant experience that much until the last couple of months. But I started collecting plants in what, 2018? 2017? 2018? 2017 or 2018. And I've loved every second of it. And I love the community that's on the internet. And I want to encourage more people to have plants and have fun and have experience and do things that will bring you joy. I don't want to discourage people from buying a plant, because why would I do that? Why would somebody who, you know, is looking to share be like, you should not get this? I cannot tell you what type of plant to not get. I can only speak from my experience, and I will probably never tell you not to buy a plant. I'll tell you what happened to me, and if you want to take that information, awesome. If you don't, that's fine. I just think that videos and content that's like, don't buy this plant, or this is the worst plant to have if you're a beginner, it's like, why would I keep discouraging people from buying plants? That doesn't make any sense. That does not make any sense to me. I'm all done with this plant, and I think it looks gorgeous. I think it's gonna trail up the wall really well, and once it's dry, I'm gonna insert a clip of me doing that. So I did decide to trail this up the wall because I think it would look really cool, and it's something that I have never done before in this home. So these are little clips that I got off of Amazon. If you want the link, let me know. I'll put it in the comments. This is me deciding on how I want to position everything on the wall, because I have a lot of pieces to put up. There's my first piece. So this is by a little internet box thing, so I decided to cover it up with clear tape. There's my second piece, the rest of the pieces,
And this is me deciding on what to do with this extremely long piece that is really weird that I can't hang up because I don't have the space, so I kind of just threw it on top. And this is the final result, and I'm excited to do an update hopefully soon.
But I want to thank you so much for watching today's video and watching me react to planty, unconventional planty opinions, and I will see you in the next video.